Hello, everyone. I am Gareth Smith, and today I'm joined by not only Sky Lawrence Pank, but also special guest Jeff Reinebold. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, fellas. I'm doing great.
Thank you very much for your time today. Do appreciate how busy you probably are. This time of year with the playoffs is always an interesting one. We had a wild card round. Out of the games, which one would you say was probably your biggest surprise out of all those games?
Well, I tell you, it was shocking what happened with the Cowboys, and I think it was equally as shocking what happened to the Eagles. I would have never foreseen the Eagles, from 10-1 to where they were at the end of the season. You can say injuries, or you can say, but because everybody's got injuries, right? I mean, that's just part of the game, and I don't know, and we're not in the locker room, so we'll never really know. But there had to have been something with that football team inside
Yeah.
where they imploded because just too many good players at every
Mm.
level of that football team. When you watched them play, they couldn't tackle, they couldn't do simple fundamental things. And this is a team that was 10-1, and we all thought, you know, it was either going to be them or the Niners, representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. And, the same thing with the Cowboys. They had not lost at home in a year and a half, I think it was.
Yeah.
And, Green Bay comes in with a bunch of first and second year guys on offense and, hangs 48 points on them. Just really shocking from a coaching standpoint. Dallas couldn't find an answer to, the run game. I can't remember what the back had 166 or 180 yards. It was something like that.
Yeah.
It was a ridiculous number. And the Packers completely neutralized one of the most disruptive players in the National Football League in Micah Parsons. So I
Mhm.
think those were the biggest storylines to me coming out of the first week.
I'll be honest, as an Eagles fan, it has been horrific. And I think it almost feels like a team that maybe the coaching staff have lost the locker room a little bit. You often hear things like, oh, this coach has lost the locker room. And then you've also got what's going on in Jerry World, which is always an unusual environment. You never quite know what Jerry Jones is going to do next. Do you think both Nick and Mick are at severe risk of not being employed by the end of this week?
Well, I think there's certainly going to be a lot of conversations that are going to go on in both those buildings in Dallas and in Philadelphia. Obviously, you've got two owners in Mr. Lurie and in Jerry Jones that they're committed to winning, and
Mm-hmm.
you know they've paid the price to have a winner, and that if you've ever been to the two facilities, you can tell they scrimp on nothing, and
No.
they're committed to their football teams winning football games. The problem seems to be, and this is what surprised me with the Eagles, there are too many good players, but also too many good veterans in that team to see that team implode like it did. I really felt, and when we were picking our picks from the weekend, I said, I really believe that the veteran players that the Eagles have, and Jalen Hurts, and all of those guys are gonna band together. And I've seen this happen with football teams where the team
Mm-hmm.
basically just takes over and they say, hey, listen, not don't listen to the coach, but hey, listen, we are the football team. Let's get our job done. Let's go play the way we're
Yeah.
capable of. And they didn't do it for whatever reason. Hassan Reddick and the veterans on that football team that would have been, the vocal guys, AJ Brown and those guys,
Mhm.
certainly, when a team takes over, that's a powerful thing. But it didn't
Yeah.
happen for them, and they played very lackadaisical or lackluster, I guess, not lackadaisical. But and in the Cowboys, the same thing.
Mm.
When you're getting the ball shoved up your face, you know, there comes a point where the players just enough is enough, right? And they didn't get to that point. Everybody throws shade at Dak, and I thought Dak, he had to throw the ball 60 times, guys. That's no recipe for success in the playoffs. And if you throw it 60 times, the chances are they're going to catch a couple of them. And they caught a couple of them and made them into touchdowns, which, really at halftime, I tweeted out, the Cowboys are going to get 6, maybe 7, if they can steal one, possessions in the second half. And they're going to have to stop them on defense, not give up any more scores, and they're going to have to score every time to win this game. Well, they damn near scored every time in the second half, but the defense just could not get off the field.
No, it was horrific. As I think that as an Eagles fan, I went from being quite happy to being quite sad quite quickly. Whereas Sky, on the other hand, is a secret Cowboys fan.
The Cowboys, so we'll move on from them to the divisional round. As I guess, regardless of who you support, we'll have no Eagles or Cowboys next week. But I feel like, Jeff, we should start with probably my most exciting game is the Chiefs at the Bills. I think for me personally, Josh Allen's probably playing the best football that I've seen in his career so far. He sort of seems to have got away from this gung-ho mentality, because I think that sort of plagued the other good arm quarterbacks like, your Favres and your Big Bens in the past, especially in their postseason careers. We can think of, some games where they probably should have won and they threw it away. I really like what I saw from Allen this week. How do you feel about, the chances of Buffalo against the Chiefs this week, especially with Buffalo finally being at home in this rivalry?
Well, I think we all have to ask this question, first of all, when you talk about this game. Who's hotter than the Buffalo Bills right now?
Yeah.
Right. And, we have a saying in coaching that when you get to playoff football, you want to be healthy and you want to be hot. Now, they're not exactly healthy because, they did have some guys out, key players out. But, they had some guys step in. A.J. Klein steps in. He's going on vacation with his family, gets a phone call and comes out and plays middle linebacker in a playoff game. All right. Now, that's amazing. But when Rasul Douglas gets back and they get healthy, the Bills have as good a chance, I think, as anybody in the game right now. Certainly, it's going to be an advantage to have Kansas City in, Buffalo. Kansas City is used to winning playoff games, but they're used to winning playoff games at home. It's another deal when you got to travel, right? I agree, Sky, with your evaluation of Josh Allen. And I think a lot of that is the Joe Brady effect, the coordinator that they brought in, who did such a masterful job in college with Joe Burrow. And, I think you can see the influence there. So I would say that one certainly, the Chiefs still, and even in the Miami game, the Chiefs still are looking for production at wide receiver, right? Rashee Rice is really their only productive receiver right now. And Kelsey's Kelsey. He's at the end of his career. He doesn't make the big plays that he did in the past. He's still going to get his 6, 8, 10 catches or targets during the game. But they need somebody outside to step up, because if they have to get in a scoring contest with Buffalo, I don't know if they can win that game. I do these little things for Sky where I features on the game, and I did one on L'Jarius Sneed the other day, and I thought he played, and he has played all year, as good as any corner in the NFL. And it's interesting because he's on a team of stars, and particularly offensive stars. L'Jarius Sneed doesn't get the accolades that I think he's due, and I think Tyreek Hill will tell you L'Jarius Sneed's a pretty damn good corner.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And it's going to be an interesting game, but I think the game I'm actually more interested in is the other game in the AFC. Because for me, it's the MVP of the league versus the offensive rookie of the year in what potentially could be a bit of a shootout. Do you think that D'Amico Ryans and CJ has a chance going into this game? Or do you think that the class of that Ravens team will be too much for this young rookie QB and head coach combo?
Well, I love the swagger that the Texans have adopted. I think D'Amico Ryans has done an amazing job. He's my vote for coach of the year. And it's interesting When I
100%.
first went to Sky at Thanksgiving, I think about a week, maybe 2 weeks later, they asked us to pick who we would say for MVP in the league. And I said CJ Stroud, and everybody laughed. But I said it at that point because this is a kid that comes in as a rookie and takes a franchise that hasn't won 11 games in 3 years and wins 11 games as a rookie quarterback in the National Football League. I mean, it's an incredible story. Now, I still think what Puka Nacua did with the Rams, which has never been done by any player in the history of the National Football League. You know, you look at his rookie receiving totals, I would give it to Puka. However, there is a quarterback bias in all of these awards, so I think he'll probably get it. Doesn't diminish the player. They are not going to be scared, right? They won't go to Baltimore and play timid, and they're just good enough, and they make big plays. Bobby Slowick, their coordinator, has put together a scheme where the Texans have more chunk plays on offense, you know, explosive plays or whatever you want to call them, than anybody else in the National Football League. And when you can make chunk plays, and we saw it in the game the other night against the Browns. That Browns defense, guys, was the number 1 rated defense in the National Football League, and they tore them up, right? So they're playing with confidence. They're playing loose. They're playing free. Nobody gives them a chance. Nobody expects them to win. All the pressure's on the Ravens. So, you know, that could be a deadly combination, man.
I'm feeling smug there because I said CJ Stroud as well around the same time, Jeff. And we got
Fred did too.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
Yeah, me and Freddie said it and they were laughing at us. But he definitely was in the conversation, but completely agree with Nacua too. Speaking of other awards, though, moving on to this Buccaneers at Lions game. I had Baker Mayfield down as comeback player of the year at the start of the year. I think he's had a phenomenal season and obviously backed that up, throwing the ball loads of zip last night and the win over the Eagles. I mean, even in the first quarter, there were drops that were happening throughout that game, and it probably could have been a better start for Tampa Bay. I think he's played really well and arguably probably had the hardest job in football, you could say, you know, taking over from Brady after his retirement. But do you think Tampa can pull off an upset against the Lions? Because the only path to success I can maybe see here is that Todd Bowles likes to blitz a lot. And as good as Jared Goff's been this season, he maybe struggle is not the right word, but, you know, he dips a little bit when he comes up against a blitz. So do you think Tampa has a chance, or are the Lions just going to ride that high of getting this first playoff win in, you know, however many decades it's been now? They're obviously quite on a high morale now.
I think this is the way I look at that game, right? The Lions, as you said, and 100% true, they are riding a wave right now, right? Now, they're a young football team, and Dan Campbell's ability this week to get them focused again, because it's like, I don't know. I don't know what I could equate it to. The elation, the relief, the excitement, everything in the city of Detroit. Detroit has always been a football town. It's always been the Lions. They've got the Detroit Tigers in baseball. They got the Detroit Pistons in basketball. They got the Detroit Red Wings in hockey. But even when those teams are winning, it's a Lions town. And now that the Lions are winning for the first time in 30 some years, everybody's ecstatic. You're talking about a generation of fans, right, that have never seen the Lions win. Well, they're winning. And, you know, what that does and how it electrifies the city. But the dangerous thing for a football team and all that is everywhere these guys go this week, everybody's telling them how good they are and how much they love them and all of that. And it can tend to take your focus away. We used to call it you get the success flu, right? because everybody's trying to infect you everywhere you go, right? They're telling you all that stuff, and you know, all of a sudden you lose your sharp edge, right? So you think about it, and Baker's coming in, and he is 100% what you said. He is the biggest reclamation project in the National Football League right now, right? Thrown away by the Browns, thrown away by the Panthers, thrown away by the Rams. finally finds a home following the greatest who ever threw a pass, right? And so I'm rooting for him. I'm a Lions fan, and I want the Lions to win, but I'm rooting for Baker Mayfield. Todd Bowles will have a scheme that will attack them. I think the story in this game is how it goes early, right?
Unfortunately, we lost Jeff there due to some technical issues. But as you mentioned, the key to that game is obviously going to be who starts hotter out of the Lions and Buccaneers, which is going to be an exciting matchup. And then an even arguably maybe more exciting matchup, Gareth, after the Packers, as we know, overcome the Cowboys. They're playing the 49ers. How do you see this one going? And what would you say the narrative is going into it, obviously, with Green Bay coming off of that big upset win?
So I think, to be fair, what Jeff said about that last game is key for this one. Because this 49ers team does not like coming from behind. They want to be in the lead. They are not a team that, if they fall behind, have the QB that has the poise and I think the ability to play from behind to win a game. Whereas if you look at the Packers, on the other hand, Jordan Love looks like he's just the next MVP up in Green Bay. And how has this guy, the one question I would ask yourselves, guys, how has this guy gone from being, was it week 8, being called out by LaFleur as not being potentially good enough, to now being the guy who destroyed is the right word, that Dan Quinn defense in Dallas?
Yeah, I think with Jordan Love, as mentioned on the main show as well. I mean, I said earlier in the season that with the talent that he has, I think he could probably get more Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers. But obviously this season, which sounded ridiculous at the time, but, a friend of mine out in Wisconsin talked Jordan Love up when he was drafted that time. And they were like, well, why have they wasted that pick? We can see already this season, especially on this 6-2 run that they were going into the Dallas game, 18 touchdowns to 1 pick. It is definitely one of the best quarterback playoff performances we've seen in recent memory, given how much that Dallas defense, including myself, was hyping them up. But I guess it's down to good coaching, and sometimes you just have that clutch gene, right? And this is not a dig on Dak or quarterbacks, but some people just built for those moments, and it seems like Jordan Love is built for the moment.
And to be fair, you did mention Aaron Rodgers and Super Bowl wins, but to be fair, he has the same number as Nick Foles. So he was a backup quarterback. So I don't think beating that target is not the highest bar.
Better target is
like a Mahomes target, or not Brady, because that's ridiculous. But what do you think the keys to this game are?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Packers need to be aggressive early, right? We saw them; they asked for the ball first against the Cowboys. Like you said, they will probably want to put the 49ers behind, if possible, early to put the pressure on them. And, Brock Purdy's one of a few players who I'd mentioned in the MVP race, but we saw how he sort of, I don't want to say faltered away against the Ravens, but that was the first time we saw him sort of crumble, right? And that loss to Baltimore. So I think the Packers, I know they've had a couple of injuries on the weekend, but their pass rush can take big credit and hope from that. And they'll be hoping they can put the same pressure on Purdy. But I think the key is, again, forcing turnovers, because if the Packers can't get the sort of turnovers that they did against the Cowboys, McCaffrey's just going to run wild, and I hope that doesn't happen. But are there any different things that you see, or any potential narratives?
I think the problem that I have for the Packers in this one, Dallas offensively are fairly one-dimensional. CeeDee Lamb, CeeDee Lamb, CeeDee Lamb. 49ers, okay, I can't get it to CMC. I'll get it to Debo. Okay, I can't get it to Debo. I'll get it to Ayuk. Okay, I can't get it to Ayuk. I'll get it to Kittle. Don't just stop that. They are a power offense. They are the team with all of the toys. I think there's not a team in the land that isn't jealous of the weapons that quarterback has at his disposal. And the Packers defense, as much as they stepped up against the Cowboys, this is a whole new machine. And that is my concern. I personally think that the 49ers will win this one and win it quite comfortably. Sorry, Adam. As you know, Adam is our residential Packers fan, and he might tell me otherwise. But no, I think it's going to be potentially I think the 49ers will win it quite comfortably myself. What about yourself? What's your prediction scores? Even though I shouldn't ask because you do tell us as part of our predictions anyway. But which way have you got this one going?
I've got the Niners winning, and then I guess it's worth obviously picking your brain on the other games we would have asked Jeff, but I'm going Tampa. I think there's going to be one upset this week. So I'd go Buccaneers, 49ers, Ravens, and Bills for me. But out of all of them, I guess the one I like the Ravens, but I think we're all fans of sort of the Lions and the Texans at the moment. So hopefully one of those two teams progress. What do you think?
I would love it if the Texans won.
Yeah.
I think that it just, particularly bearing in mind the story of CJ, how he came into the league, who had that test that say he wasn't very intelligent as a quarterback, and that apparently determined he was not going to be very good as a quarterback. And you look at the fact that even when they've lost some of their best playmakers have gone down, they're still moving forward. I'd love to see if that one would be the upset of the weekend myself. But I think out of all of them, I think the one where the potentially could be an away team victory, it's not going to be really. Is it ever really an upset if it involves Mahomes?
The Bills are big favourites, though. It feels like, right? The narrative is always at home, and they're the informed team. I
just really struggle to look. But the Chiefs always remind me of. I know you're going to hate me saying this. A Brady Patriots team. No matter how bad they are, when it comes to this time of year, they always find a way. So for me, I think that is the game where the away team's going to win. It could be that one. And I'm not just saying that to annoy Byron, who's a friend of the show. I'm not just saying it to annoy him. But no, I think it's going to be an interesting weekend, a weekend we all can look forward to. Obviously, thank you so much, Jeff Reinebold, for your time. It is an absolute honour, as always, to get Jeff on. Always very generous with his time. Make sure as well you check out Jeff Reinebold's own podcast and all the work he puts out for Sky Sports as well. All of it is well worth it to watch and listen at all times. Thank you very much for your time as always, Sky. And thank you everyone for listening at home. We'll be back again soon with another very special guest.